Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and this short video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous night and the morning of the local time. Probably the most important one is the meeting between Kim Chen In, the head of North Korea, and the president of Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin. As we understand, these two guys are going to discuss a lot of things, and the most important one is what kind of help and what kind of support North Korea are able to provide to the Russians. And of course, we're talking about missiles and the North Korean technologies in this sphere, and of course 152mm shells that North Korea also can provide the Russians and help this special military operation. I believe that these guys are going to have some agreements, and that means that the Russians are continue their development of their military power, and they probably are going to continue the special military operation the next year as well. Now let's move to the ground. There were also a lot of interesting updates, and first we're going to start with the Rehov direction, with battle for Robotyne and Verbove and so on. Some Ukrainian sources, pro-Ukrainian sources, started claiming that the Ukrainians during the previous days, during the previous 48 hours, launched a series of attacks on the western flank of Robotyne. And as a result of those attacks, the Ukrainians said that they managed to capture some territories, they managed to force the Russians to step back, but yet we haven't received even a single geolocated confirmation of these rumors and so on. I believe that that was rumors. So basically, when talking about pro-Ukrainian sources, they're saying that as a result of offensive operation that took place during the previous 2 days or 24 to 48 hours, the Ukrainians managed to capture this gray line, but yet we haven't received a single confirmation. What we have is that the Ukrainians during the previous night attacked the Russian positions on the northern part of Novoprokopovka and the southern part of Robotyne. On this video we can see how the Ukrainians 82nd Brigade was attacking the Russian positions in the forest, which confirms that the Russians probably left some positions on the north of Novoprokopovka, but they still control this tree line and this forest as well. Also, the Russians published the video how they were bombing and attacking the Ukrainians in the southern salient of Robotyne-Verbove foothold. We see how the Ukrainian soldiers were moving from one position to another. At some point, the Russian artillery system started bombing and shelling them. We're using this video just to confirm that the Ukrainians have 100% control over the salient and that they try to concentrate more forces for further offensive operation to the south. When talking about the entire situation among the fields, the Russians have calculated the number of losses of Ukrainian armored vehicles, and currently by the 12th of September of 2023, the Ukrainians just in this area, in these fields, lost around 120 armored vehicles, including Strikers, including Bradleys, Challengers, and of course Leopards as well. Also, the Ukrainians continue their attempts to concentrate forces on the west-northern part of Robotyne, but the Russians control the situation, the Russians control the supply roads, and they, as you can see, they're not giving the Ukrainians even a few seconds to unpack their infantry. As soon as something arrives in this area, this something destroyed immediately. The Russians have 100% control on the western and southwestern part of Verbove. There is like a very rich network of trenches and shelters. The Ukrainians during the previous days tried to attack and to damage the Russian trenches in this area. Probably the Russians had some losses, but anyway, the situation is not critical. The situation is stable and the Russians control the situation for 100%. Anyway, the Ukrainians continue, as we can see based on the videos we have and based on geolocations we have. The Ukrainians currently try to concentrate their forces in the southern salient, and this is probably the most dangerous area, and the Ukrainians try to concentrate their forces on the northwestern part of Verbove. The question is which direction these two groups of forces are going to use to attack. Probably the Ukrainians from the northwestern part will try to attack in direction of Verbove, and the question what the Ukrainian forces in the southern salient are going to do. They have a lot of options, like to attack Verbove from the south, of course. They can continue their offensive operation to Novoprokopovka, or they can try to dig in deeper in direction of the settlement by the name of Acheritovato. Very interesting situation, so we'll follow this, and sooner or later we're going to find this out. When talking about Vremivka tactical bridgehead, we haven't received nothing about the battles of Novodonetsk and Novomayorsk, which confirmed that Ukrainians probably were defeated and were forced to step back to the north towards more reliable positions. But also the Ukrainian sources published the videos how they were attacking, bombing, and shelling with FPV drones with artillery rounds the Russian forces in the vicinity of the settlement by the name of Kremenchuk. What does it mean that during the previous waves of attacks in direction of Novomayorsk and Novodonetsk, that those attacks were just a regular reconnaissance in force or reconnaissance in combat? As a result of those attacks, the Ukrainians managed to accumulate a lot of information. We're talking about the position of the Russian forces, their supply roads, their support roads, the local ammo depots, and after the Ukrainians got those updates, they started bombing and shelling, and basically they started the clearing operation above these foothold with the purpose to restart attempts to attack in the future after they clear this territory. So this is the situation, so we need to expect that in the next 24 hours the Ukrainians will restart their offensive operation in the direction of Novodonetsk and Novomayorsk. Now we are moving further to Donetsk direction, and today we got some more updates, some confirmations from Opytna. The Ukrainians are saying that they still control the settlement, and they have even published some geolocations, some maps showing that the fields on the north of Opytna is under complete Ukrainian control, that they have some positions on the edge of the settlement. The Russians reported that as a result of counterattack and regrouping, they forced the Ukrainians to step back, but anyway, this is not enough to make some changes on the map. We will keep the Ukrainian soldiers inside of the Opytna, we will keep the Russians inside of the settlement as well. We assume that the clash is still continuous, so we need to wait more time, and after that we will make some updates. But if we receive some geolocations from the Opytna from the Ukrainian side, then we will update the map and show Opytna is in the gray zone. Now we are moving to Klishchiivka direction. We have also a lot of updates from this foothold. The Ukrainians developed their foothold along the railways. The Russians published the video how they were bombing and attacking the Ukrainian positions along the railways, how they were attacking them with FPV drones, which confirms that as a result of clashes during the previous days, the Ukrainians managed to move their positions along the railways to the south in direction of Kurdyumovka, and also they managed to move their positions to the north in direction of Avdiivka. Avdiivka itself is under complete 100% Russian control, but currently we see that Ukrainians have changed their focus, and currently they try to get as close as possible to the settlement by the name of Kurdyumovka. They try to move along the railways, and the next 24 hours they will try to establish control over this gray cloud as the main key region to start offensive operation of Kurdyumovka-Zelenopolye, at least from two directions. Furthermore, the Ukrainians continue attacking, bombing and shelling the Russian supply and support roads that located on the east of Avdiivka. On this video we see another usage of cluster rounds, and as a result of that usage the Russians lost another operational ammo depot. Also we have updated the map in the vicinity of Berkhivka. On this video we can see how the Ukrainians, to be more precise 77th Brigade, was hunting and attacking the Russian infantry along the railways, which confirms that as a result of clashes that took place during the previous 48 hours, the Ukrainians were forced to step back and the Russians retook these positions. Also we got some yesterday geolocation that Ukrainians were leaving or were trying to run away from the forest line under very heavy Russian artillery fire, which also confirms that this area is under complete Russian control. And that's it for this short video. Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.